what's up? So with Valentine's Day closely approaching, I wanted to talk to my single people out there. Y'all are not the only lonely people. Men are going through it right now. So I know for those of us that have been online recently, have been seeing more and more men coming out and talking about their experiences with loneliness, feeling isolated, feeling that they don't really have that connection with other people, or can't really find women that want them, etc. And it seems like the problem has kind of gotten worse and worse over time, especially within the recent couple of years. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about why that kind of is. And just to get this out the way, obviously, I'm not referring to everyone. Not everyone acts or thinks the same. Yada yada yada. I don't deal in absolutes. That's, should be a given. By the way, welcome back to my channel. I'm Hayes. Let's get right into this video. So in the past couple of years, there seems to have been a decrease in the amount of men feeling like they have close friends and people to be emotionally vulnerable with. And I did want to start off by stating the obvious, the pandemic and everything has pretty much made a lot of people, especially younger people, more isolated. It's made us feel more lonely, like overall, like a lot of us. En masse, younger people have been talking about how they've been feeling more and more lonely over the years, but that's especially exacerbated since the pandemic has been going on. And it seems like men are experiencing the brunt of this. I also think in general, just maintaining and getting connections and, experiencing other people genuinely has, is kind of hard for, adults and everything. It's not as easy as it was when we were kids. People have their own lives, they start their own families, have their own goals, careers, things. It's just not as, effective for adults to maintain positive and connected friendships for long periods of time. And because of that, maintaining close connection to people can be hard, yes. But I think that we've seen other groups be able to effectively form community and camaraderie amongst each other. We've seen it with queer people, we've seen it with black people, even though everybody and their mama be digging their grubby, dirty fingers up in black people's spaces, but I digress. And women too have their own spaces where they can feel comfortable with each other. And what did men decide to do? Join the red pill community. I'm sure a lot of us have already seen online about the growing number and disparity between the political leaning between men and women, especially younger men and younger women. Younger women tend to lean to more, more left, more liberal, and men are seemingly leaning towards more conservative or apolitical sides. Now, this overall is a nuanced topic that I can get into at a later date, but I do think seeing the differences in men and women, especially younger men and women, is very interesting. And if you've been on social media recently, you've seen a bunch of conservative men bitching and moaning about how women don't want them. Like, some men are so confused, like genuinely confused as to why women don't like conservative men. Like, no shit, women don't want to be viewed as subservient to you, as lesser than you, or associate with men who actively strip away or actively advocate for stripping away of their rights, or are either silent and complicit in what's happening. And as we're seeing men coming online and talking about, what they're going through with the male loneliness epidemic and, how they've been feeling so disconnected from people, isn't really garnering the amount of empathy and support, I guess, that they were really wanting coming online. And to be honest, although I do think it is beneficial to foster an environment where men can obviously be comfortable in expressing these things, I'm also not gonna put it on women for not really extending the empathy that men were wanting. Because it seems that women understand that men have put themselves into this position. And in response, some men get this fuck women attitude and then wonder why they're slowly slipping further and further into the abyss. Men will have this sustainable job, but sustainable, because like, who really does in this economy? Will look good, have all these assets that they thought were desirable, but then they don't realize that women also have these same attributes. Addressing the trend of more and more incel and incel related content, sweeping through Gen Z, the younger generations and everything, I find it very interesting. This is in no small part due to the younger generation and Gen Z's lack of ability to find genuine connection with women, whether that be romantically, sexually, or platonically. And I put platonically lightly because how many of my men out here actually genuinely have a connection with a woman that they do not require or want something romantically or sexually from them? How many of you out there have formed genuine connections without need for sexual gratification or to get something from them, but just genuinely for the camaraderie and the appreciation of that person in y'all's friendships? More and more women are seeing from their mothers and their mothers' mothers what they had to deal with in this patriarchy. Having to deal with bullshit in order to have a sustainable life because America has made women reliable on men in order to have ownership of anything. And now women have gained more rights, experienced third wave feminism, and gotten past the idea that women need men in order to feel fulfilled, or else they'll be lonely cat women. Meanwhile, it seems to be women who are thriving the most and actually going out and experiencing life, healing that inner self and need to be with someone or needing to have someone in their lives, experiencing life on their own terms, making money and financial decisions, and actually actively having ownership of these things. While men are the ones showing signs of loneliness, depression, isolation, and the repercussions that come with that. And I think part of that is what we're seeing with men being absolutely upset, like seething at women for being like, okay, we're gonna be lonely cat women. Okay, what's wrong with that? We love our pets. We actually like we have friends. Like we don't need. And men use that like as an insult towards women. Like do this and like be with a man, or you crave a man, or else she'll end up like this. And so many men are upset because women are just like, okay, sounds pretty good to me. And men are now the ones suffering. Mm, mm. This is partially why we have a growing number of incels, especially within younger men, Gen Z especially, is that guys are seeing women living a better life, and that better life does not include them. And instead of deciding to step their pussy game up, they decided to develop an anti-women mindset. Like women are actively losing more and more of their rights as humans due to the incompetence and hatred of men. And we can talk about the people that are in power, the ones that are actually the ones doing it. But I think we also need to talk about the regular everyday man who is not saying or doing anything, because these people cannot get away with passing these laws in the first place if they don't have a population that's complicit in it. But y'all will put the blame on women, insisting that, oh, women feel like they don't need a man nowadays, and oh, women just require more and want more, and they just want too much. And women are saying, yes, actually. Well, yes. Completely ignoring why women are saying this in the first place, which emphasizes that y'all don't really listen to women and understand what they're saying and where they're coming from. Instead of getting upset that you're no longer the prize that society had conditioned you to believe based solely on the fact that you were a man. And if we're being honest, a huge part of why men often feel isolated from the rest of the world and community and everything is because we as society don't allow men the emotional vulnerability to express themselves in the same way that we give other space for other people. In fact, we discourage them from doing it. And this is a nuanced conversation because there's a difference between listening to and understanding men and coddling men's feelings and emotions when they seem to not really understand why things are the way that they are. At the end of the day, it is on men to create that safe space within their own group. Be open and create a space within ourselves where we can deconstruct why it is that men have existed in this state for so long and what we can do about that. But honestly, it doesn't help when y'all shut them down, make fun of them, or call them sassy, which, by the way, y'all love that word sassy. Just go ahead and say it. Just say it. Say that. There's very little social space for men, even in our earliest years, in which men can feel like it's acceptable to express, feel, and work through their emotions. Men are not encouraged by society to develop emotional intelligence. Empathy is considered a feminine trait and is therefore demasculinizing. Apparently, being associated with the feminine devalues men because there's this underlying mindset that women and anything associated with the feminine is inherently beneath men and the masculine. And this kind of mindset is why so many women are saying Yeah, we don't want that. We don't want y'all around us right now. Some of y'all are really gonna have to start considering women as equal to y'all. Sorry, sorry, sorry. Hearing someone like the way y'all talk is very concerning. It's as if like men and women are two completely different species, and women are just inherently incapable of intelligence, incapable of being able to do things, incapable of being able to hold positions in which they're in power. Like, at the end of the day, human beings are a social species, and therefore we need these connections in order to grow and develop properly as human beings. We as humans deserve to have a good connection and network of people that we can actually care about, that we know and can trust that they care about us as well. We see that women can often find comfort in each other despite what some may think. Men deserve that comfort from others. Men deserve to feel loved and cared about. Men deserve to be able to feel like they don't always need to put up a front or walls of masculinity in order to feel like they can gain something from other people. Men deserve to feel like people are also protecting them as well. That they can let their guard down and be raw and emotional and vulnerable to other people without fear of social consequences. Women have created these spaces for themselves where not only can they be emotional, vulnerable, and raw with each other and form that deeper connection, but where they can process ideas of power imbalances, sexual liberation, and intersectionality. Men aren't encouraged to talk about their feelings or express their emotions. It's always man up, toughen up, stop crying. You're a grown man acting like that, hmm? And this has led to many repercussions, some of which includes the male loneliness epidemic. Like, the main emotion that men are allowed and expected to be able to display is anger or aggression in some kind of way, which has led to more and more men resorting to violence and anger. Who would have thought? And when we're talking about the ideas of men feeling lonely and isolated, we need to talk about and address how men view women in the first place. Because a big part of why men in this day and age feel lonely is because they lack that romantic and sexual connection that they feel like they deserve, which they do deserve, you know? At least most of them, I don't know about some of them. And this gets into the culture of why men view women and respond to women in the way that they do. You are not entitled to a woman, her attention, her time, her body, anything. And unfortunately, this mindset also extends towards y'all's daughters as well. I recently saw this tweet thread that was basically saying daughters are essentially divine justice for misogynistic men. Someone quoted that and was saying, you know, daughters, women, females are not punishment for y'all. And I saw a couple of men responding, yes, y'all are. And when I clicked on one of their profiles, not only is this man's daughter in his Twitter banner, but also he has girl dad in his bio. And honestly, when I saw that, I couldn't even get angry or like, but I just got sad. Like, so many girls have to deal with this kind of mindset from their fathers. Like, imagine when his daughter grows up and finds out that the idea of her existence, her very existence, was punishment to him in his eyes. Obviously, not all men have this mentality, but I think this mentality is more common than we'd like to admit. Remember back during the gender reveal craze when men would literally become angry, like flippantly angry, resorting to violence, throwing stuff, kicking stuff, stomping around here, angry, like actually pissed off at the idea of them having a girl. Now imagine those girls grow up and see that their fathers reacted to that way to their very existence as who they were, which is a woman or girl at that point. They thought of their existence and they got upset. The fathers got pissed off at that. And then we wonder why we see so many younger women coming online nowadays talking about their strained relationship with their fathers, talking about how they feel the trauma and don't want to be around their fathers, and just all of this. Like, and then somehow y'all make that a dig at the women or the girls who were the ones affected, but the dad, the father, the man in that situation who actually did the wrong things and had that mentality are just completely overlooked in the situations. We see a growing trend of women coming out, experiencing and enjoying life without feeling like they need a man and not feeling empty either. And I think a growing concern of men is that their daughters will start to feel the exact same way. I don't want that for men. But men are gonna have to not want that for themselves as well. Other people cannot do the work for you. We're gonna have to create that space ourselves and form that connection with other men and other women as well. And it starts with understanding and deconstructing and realizing the problem and how men at large tend to view women. If you, in any way, shape, form, or fashion, view women or the feminine as inherently lesser than or subservient to the masculine or men, then wonder why people don't want to be around you, or people don't want to find community or connection with you, and don't wonder why women don't want you. And men need the spaces through which they can form genuine connection with other men, to where they can have that shared space and camaraderie, actually be able to be emotionally raw, vulnerable, deeply connect with your fellow man, being open to expressing and existing within your emotions, so that way you can understand them, work through emotions instead of just brushing them off to the side or building this wall as if you have to have this mask on all the time. It's genuinely sad that men who did not create these systems and are therefore victim to them have to endure and experience this. It's sad, it really is. Men nowadays might not have created these systems and these traits and roles and things that we feel like we're assigned to, but we also need to talk about those of us that perpetuate these ideas as well, and benefit from them whenever we do. And your anger or blame should not be placed on women. They just shouldn't. Do women perpetuate these ideas? Yes. Do we need to address that? Of course. No one should be perpetuating these ideas. But let's bring it back to the source. Let's talk about where this stems from, and let's talk about who in charge is talking about these ideas, putting these things into law, making these things a common cultural within our society. We as men really need to deconstruct the ideas and why we need to put on these masks of masculinity and bring up these walls, and how we can exist comfortably within our masculinity without having to put others down. Develop that community with other men and other women, and also find that connection and deep value that we can have in another human being without it being or feeling weird. We can talk about and address the male loneliness epidemic, of course, which is what I'm doing. However, I think we need to understand why men are feeling lonely in the first place, and men need to understand how they low-key perpetuate that and exist within that, you know? But that's pretty much all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching this video, if you indeed still are, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.